good morning, good afternoon, depending on your locale. Welcome everyone to the Contentstack webinar to introduce Contentstack. My name is Spencer Emmett. I also have my solutions engineer, Adam Smith, here with me today. I'm based out of Denver, Colorado, as is Adam. I'm an enterprise account executive here at Contentstack. And so how this is going to work is I'm going to give a little bit of an overview here at the top, and I'll hand it over to Adam to walk us through the platform capabilities and give you some visuals on how our technology solves business problems. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat, and I'll monitor that for Adam as he does the platform walkthrough. So let's get started. Kind of a high level, what's happening in the marketplace slide here. Everyone knows intuitively that the adoption of digital has gone through the roof via COVID and just an ever evolving digital landscape. In fact, there's a ton of numbers to back it up. 70% of customers are interacting with the brand through the digital means first. They're doing a lot of research on your brand, a lot of research on who you are, and that's the first touch point that happens digitally. So your content becomes more important than it's ever been. And when customers do come to your site, they want to see something that's relevant. There's much more of an adoption or a feeling now that, okay, I am willing to give up a little bit of my behavioral data for a better experience. So customers want to have that type of interaction with a brand. That's what they expect. And you need to have the content and the capabilities to tailor an experience based on what you do know about the customer or someone visiting your site for the first time, being able to adapt quickly to provide something hyper relevant to the individual. And so, there's challenges associated with that. The big picture, the issues are fairly well known. A lot of legacy systems that are creating sticking points within businesses. It's hard to move fast enough if you're stuck in a legacy type software platform. There can be a lot of front end or back end issues that are time consuming. And a lot of what we hear over and over again is just the fact that companies want to move more quickly. How do I spin up a landing page? How do I spin up an experience in a much shorter amount of time than I can with, say, a monolithic type CMS platform? How do I move faster? How do I move better? How do I provide these experiences that will keep my customers engaged? So, company that had that experience, Levi's. So Levi's has always prided themselves as having a singular focus on the customer. They knew that the digital approach that they had previously to engage their customers wasn't good enough. They had dreams of a better approach on how to tell their stories. And so after a lengthy evaluation of Contentstack, they felt comfortable and trusted our experience to help adopt a solution that proved worth their internal education and investment. So this all led to an almost 30% increase in online revenue, the ability to support more countries, and engage better and publish faster. So there's a lot of numbers on this slide that measure the success Levi's has had with Contentstack. But the real message that I want to convey is that, listen, they knew they needed to change. They trusted us to take them on the journey. And now, and I love this quote, is, we build whatever we're capable of dreaming up. So an HP is another customer who utilized the power and speed of Contentstack. I really like this use case because it showcases our speed to market. HP came to us with a critical business initiative they needed to jumpstart. They needed to move fast, and their current legacy system could not support and lacked the inherent functionality to do this. So again, a lot of metrics on this slide measuring success, but what I want to highlight is HP came to us with an idea. Within 4 months of that initial meeting, they were live in production. So less than 50 days after a contract signature, a little over a month and a half, they had fully implemented Contentstack and were live in production. So we have the power and the agility to move at the pace that our customers set. So I promise we're going to get to the actual software here in a moment, but just quickly under the hood, Contentstack is a fully cloud native platform. We're a founding member of the MACH Alliance. If you don't know the MACH Alliance, it's a consortium of about 60 companies now, and it's built on the principles of microservices, API first, cloud native, and headless. So it's a composable approach to a tech stack. You have your foundation, like a content stack. We like to think of ourselves as the backbone or the spine on which you can add or integrate other composable providers such as commerce, DAM, or personalization engine, via API. So a ton of flexibility in the way that you can integrate, and a lot of flexibility in the way that you can pivot. If a vendor is underperforming in a commerce or personalization area, you can pivot away from them, point that API somewhere else, and utilize a different technology. You aren't locked into vendors, and you can quickly adapt to your changing business needs. And promise this is my final slide. I just want to highlight some of the industry leaders that we partner with. Over 50% of our customers are $1 billion in revenue and up. These are companies that have a lot of requirements around governance, workflows, permissions, localization, security, just general scale and enterprise readiness. We like to say that leaders love us. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Adam Smith. He's going to walk through a little bit of the platform and maybe, let your imagination run wild a little bit and think about how it might apply to your business. So take it away, Adam.
Marvelous. Hey, everybody. My name is Adam Smith. I'm a senior solutions engineer here at Contentstack. So I'll be, as Spencer said, I'll be his co-host today, kind of walking you through the platform, go through a couple of cool stuff that it can do. We only have about 20 minutes or so we'll try to keep it to kind of the greatest hits. We love for these to be interactive, though. So if any questions come up during today's webinar, feel free to ask them in the Q&A. And Spencer, if you could just do me the favor of letting me know if anybody has questions, because I'll be kind of cruising through things as we go.
I will stop you as appropriate. No problem.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, okay, so let's get started. So what I'm going to start out with is really kind of how we work with Contentstack and kind of how folks are able to, edit campaigns and work with content super quickly, right? So for starters, I've just logged right into Contentstack. This is the first thing I'm going to see. And this is, as Spencer kind of pointed out earlier, right? We have the ability to hook into all sorts of other pieces of software. So for example, just a little one here, we've got our Google Analytics, right? This is right in line with all the rest of the stuff that's important for me within Contentstack. I can take a look at how my campaigns are doing. I can, make sure that everything's going well with that. I don't have to do the swivel chair thing of going to a bunch of different apps and looking at other stuff. I've also set up a few other things here that are important to me, right? I want to see what's new with Contentstack, right? So I've got this little widget that's going to show me, okay, this is new stuff, and then just a few other things. But really, what I want to dive into, what's super important to me as a marketer, right, is these two down here. These are what I'm working on. This is kind of my own little workboard, right? So I've got really what is the most recently modified content that I'm working on in the system. And then, what are some like images, PDFs, things like that? We call them assets, right? So I want to make some changes to the homepage, and I'm just going to dive right in here, and I'll just go to the homepage. Now, as Spencer pointed out, and as some of you folks are probably familiar with headless already, one of the cool things with headless is we totally separate the content that you are working on with the channel, the context, the campaign, right, that you're going to use that content in. And one of the challenges that folks kind of initially have about going composable like this is, okay, we've got this great content, but what's it going to look like when it's out there in the real world, right? So what we've done is we've created this technology called Live Preview, and I can just open this right up. And this is going to show me exactly what this content looks like in the real world, right? And I can take a look, see everything that's on here, but I can also do things like maybe I want to look at, what this is going to look like for our mobile campaign. So I can go on here, I can kind of say, okay, let's take a look at this on a mobile device. Okay, that looks pretty cool. Maybe I want to take a look at it as a tablet, right? I can do that. Of course, I can do things like switch it around and make sure it's going to look good for me. But we'll just go back over, and I'm actually going to zoom out. So I kind of have a full screen view of what this is going to look like. So now I've got, my Contentstack editing experience, showing me what I've got to work on the left-hand side, and of course, what that's going to look like on the right. So let's go in and just make a few changes to some content. And one of the things I want to start out with is Contentstack is a fully modular system. So however you want the website to look, or your app or whatever, right? We're separate from that, of course, but all the functionality can be either reused, or of course I can go in and make changes and kind of move things around as I'm working on things. So if I kind of take a peek on the left here, right, we have this notion of these content blocks. And you can see this here. And these, of course, can be reused on other pages or other campaigns, or maybe you want to use them in an email, right? And what we've done is we've basically said, when we set up our website, we said, okay, these are the things we want people to be able to add for functionality, right? Whether it is a banner, images, categories, things like that. And you can see here, we've just got, these here in terms of like our text call to action, editor's picks, things like that. The cool thing is I can go in and I can now edit these, right? So let's say I want to change this fall into November with our latest autumnal fashions. So let's go in here, and that's going to open it right up here on the left. So now I can say, okay, fall into November. Well, it's December, so we probably want to change this title. So let's just change that. And I'll say, celebrate December with our latest winter trends. And we've got a new colleague on here named Angie that's going to be one of our fashion experts. So we'll actually change this as well. And while we're at it, let's go in and I'm going to change our call to action to say, book a style meeting with Angie today. So you can see now on the right here, we're really changing everything about that, and we're able to see exactly what that looks like. The cool thing too is, again, because we are separate from, where the content is going to be shown to our, our customers, we can change things that affect the design. So you can see here, like I even changed like our call to action, right? I was able to change that without knowing any sort of like HTML or, any coding or anything like that, right? So I can do that sort of thing. We'll just make that change. And the other thing I want to point out while we're here is, we also, because these are modular blocks, if we want to start to kind of move things around on the page, maybe I want to have, this winter jamboree above it, I can just grab this, put it right above it, and you'll see on the right-hand side, it's going to reorder everything. So now we've got the Julie's Winter Jamboree above the fold, right? Maybe we want to A/B test this page, right? We want to split traffic on it and see kind of where these modules are going to fit the best. Now, let's go in and actually make a quick change because, we've got Julie's Winter Jamboree, but, we've got Angie working on this. So let's change this over to Angie's Awesome Winter Celebration. And I'll just change this here. So let's be nice and consistent, right? And we've now got, Angie on the call to action down here, and of course, in our awesome winter celebration. So let's do that. And now that I've made these changes, let's just go in and save this. This is something I want to, show a version of. So I'll do that. Now, once I've made a change to this piece of content, right? We've saved it. Maybe I'm going to go work on something else and come back to it. But we can go in now and maybe we want to add this to a workflow, right? We want to have this get reviewed by our marketing team to make sure it meets all of our brand consistency and our guidelines. So I'll just go over here and I'll go over to workflow, and we're going to actually re-enter this, and let's put this in review. And it's Thursday. We're going to have the campaign go live in a week. So let's make this due Monday. And of course, I can go in and let's assign a user. Not probably a super realistic workflow, but I'll just assign it to myself for now. Cool thing too, right, is you can go in and you can say, do we want this to go to a specific person, or do we want this campaign to be reviewed by a team? So here we have, all of our compliance, content developers, right? Whatever your team looks like, including Team Caitlin on here, you can set up all of your different teams within Contentstack, right? So that it matches what your business is. And of course, you can, make it so people can only work on the things that are important to them, right? So I'm just going to keep this just here, and I'll just put a comment in, changed Julie to Angie on some modules. Take a look. And of course, now I'll go and update that. Now from here, right? Okay, let's say we got this content, we've made it, it's looking good. The thing we want to do now, right, is we want to take a look and see kind of how this has changed. And the way that we handle this within Contentstack is we keep a living history of exactly how this content has changed throughout time. I mean, of course, we have like version numbers, which is, okay, but we also have the ability, I can go in, it's kind of a bit of a nitpicky thing, but I can go in, I can actually rename these. So let's do, Angie's campaign. So let's do that. And now we can actually see exactly what are like the milestones for a campaign, right? So we've got Angie's campaign up here. We've got Julie's Jamboree. Looks like Seth was from Texas, was our fashion expert a few times ago. So I can just go in and maybe I want to see how this has changed, right? Between, okay, the past and the present. So I can go right down here and let's take a look at Julie's Jamboree, and I'll hit compare. Now, one of the things with Contentstack, because we really separate everything out, right? You'll notice I worked on things like individual modules, our calls to action, right? Because we're able to do that, it lets me really get granular in terms of, okay, what's really changed and what do I want to have on the current version, right? So here, for example, on the left, this is the one I've been working on. And of course, you can see in green, we've got, Angie's awesome winter collection versus the version here with Seth had, winter fab fashion, right? So I can see exactly how things have changed. I can see right here on the left, and we've got Angie here in green, and I can dive in. I could say, well, that's cool. Let's kind of go a little further in time and see, okay, what was the last one, right? So you can really take a look, kind of backwards and forwards and see exactly what's changed. So here, for example, celebrate December. And of course we had, Julie's winter jamboree and fall into November. So super easy for me to go there. And of course, then I can go and say, these are the specific things I want to approve, not approve, right? Things like that. So we've kind of made some changes. We've highlighted Angie as part of this campaign. And now we want to kind of, publish this out. This is something that is unique with Contentstack is we have this whole notion of once you're done with content, right? We have, we call them environments. I like to call them publication targets personally, which is a little bit geekier, but that's okay. So if I go in here and I hit publish, right? This is now, once we've gone through a workflow and it's all completed and everything, this is where I can now say, okay, this is where I want this content to live. I want to send it out into the world. So if you've got developers that want to have their own little sandbox to work on things, if you want to send this out to a preview environment, right, to send out to colleagues and have them take a look at it, or of course we can send it out to production. Cool thing here too is I can select what languages I want to work on, and I can do things like maybe I want to schedule this for later. Maybe I want this to go out, on Christmas morning for some reason. I can go right in here. I can select exactly that time, and I can then kind of bundle that in with other things. So that is taking a look super quick at kind of the content creation and publication process. I want to show you a couple of other things that are super helpful while we're here, and then we'll kind of wrap up with some of our kind of more advanced features. So another thing I wanted to show you here was, within Contentstack, we have, of course, I call it our app store. I think the official name is the marketplace. And what that allows you to do is have things like, link out to other, personalization, as Spencer had pointed out, things like asset management. So we actually have a hook right here. We're out to Cloudinary where it's saying, hey, let's go out and grab an asset. But we also have our own applications that are built in, right? So we've got here, for example, on this particular image, this is being handled, right? This very fetching, stylish man is being handled through our asset management system. And I can go right in here and I can really take a look at that image, right? I can do things like see where it's being used throughout all of my different channels and all my different marketing campaigns. If I want to change it, I can replace it. And we also do things like versioning as well. So just like that content where I changed it for the Angie campaign, if I want to add new images, very straightforward to do from here as well. Another thing I wanted to point out, as Spencer had mentioned earlier, right, about kind of going in with these different products within Contentstack and really creating your own ideal tech stack, is let's take a look at how we're handling, for example, personalization on this page. So what we've done is we've actually got on here, we have this, this Manta apparel meant for every body right at the top. The cool thing is we're linked out to a personalization partner of ours called Uniform, and I'm able to go in and actually make changes to that sort of personalization experience without leaving this editorial environment. So here we've got the hero banner, right? And we've got 3 different entries here. And the reason we've got 3 different entries is these are for different audiences. So you can see the one on the bottom, that's the one that we're looking at right now, right? That's the apparel meant for everybody, but we've also got the men's winter collection and women's accessories for winter. And if I want to dive into one of those, just go into the men's winter collection. You can see here, this is its whole own other piece of content that I can reuse wherever I'd like. However, with Uniform, right, we have this full in-app integration, and this could be Uniform, this could be Ninetail, Dynamic Yield, whatever personalization engine makes sense. This is where you're able to go in and without having to switch into applications and move around, I can do things like change my audience, change my intents, right, add audience intents, whatever I'd like to do. So I just wanted to point that out real quick before I kind of moved on. So we've done some changes to content. We have walked through very quickly things like workflow. Another thing that folks do a lot with Contentstack is they have different marketing messages for different either markets, right, or entirely different countries and geographies. And the way that we handle that within Contentstack is, pardon me, is through localization. We call it localization. And what that lets you do is create very specific campaign, slices, right, for different markets without having to like copy pages over and do that sort of thing. So if I go up here, you can see we've got English United States right here, but maybe I want to dive into our German market, right? So I can go down here and let's take a look at Germany. And one of the things that we've done, right, is if I go back and take a look at our preview, you'll see it's really the exact same page. It's in this case, we've obviously different words. We've got a few different things that we've really optimized for the German market, but the actual structure of everything is exactly the same. And the reason for that is because we are localizing, and we've given our marketers the ability to say, hey, you know what? We just want to be able to change the hero banner, right, and some of the marketing messages for Germany. We don't want to recreate the whole page. We just want to have that very granular, those very granular changes. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with that in terms of even if you have different dialects for a country, or if you have different markets and you want to have very specific custom things, you can do that too. One more thing I just wanted to talk about really briefly before kind of open it up for Q&A is actually two things. First of all, and this is a very small icon in the upper right-hand corner, but it's a really big help for our customers. And I like to point this out because, as Spencer said earlier, right, when you take a look at Contentstack, right, and you're creating your own composable experience platform, there's going to be questions that are going to come up. And these might be, how do I work with this particular type of content? It could be, what does this editing thing mean, right? Or it could be, hey, I have a question about how I want to personalize this with one of your partners. What do I do, right? I'm here on the product. And as part of Contentstack, we have this whole notion of, we call it care without compromise. And what it means is a lot of things, but what I want to show you within the product is by just hitting a help button, right? I can dive right into things like, our AI-powered documentation search. I can take a look at things like, okay, what's coming up on our roadmap? Oh, hey, there's our new developer course, right? But also I can go in and with this big purple button here, I can chat with support. So instead of having to send out an email or file a ticket or, call somebody, I can just hit chat with support, and it's going to bring me directly into our support experience. And this is staff 24/7. And I can start to type in, and they can screen share, and we can go right through questions that I have. So I like to point this out because if you do want to sign up for one of our free trials on the website, that help is available for you as well. We don't kind of put that behind a paywall or anything. We love our customers wanting to be successful, right? So one other thing I just wanted to show before we kind of open it up for Q&A is this kind of rolls it into the marketplace. One of the things that we have is this whole Contentstack marketplace, right? So this is app level integrations. So let's say you want to, for example, I want to get some new personalization, right? I can just tick right on here. I can grab an app and install it with one click. And this is for everything across the spectrum. So this is everything from marketing software, analytics, even things like AI assistance and project management. And I actually wanted to show one really cool thing that if you are going to do a free trial, or once you want to get started, we have this notion of really a progress board, right? So if I go in here and I click on this workflow board, this is going to show me everything that is within my Contentstack environment and is in a workflow. So I showed you earlier that whole concept of a workflow so that we can have a lot of guidance around where the content's going to go. What's cool about this is this shows it to me visually. So I can see things like, okay, these are all the content that I have. This is where they are in their content lifecycle, right? Whether it's draft all the way out to completed. And I can do things like, maybe this December to remember sales event, I actually want to put that into our compliance sign off right now because it's, we're already halfway through the month, right? I can just drag that bring it over to our compliance sign off. And now it's going to show me really that same interface right earlier in terms of who I want to assign this to. And I'm just going to go in here and I'll just assign it to Gabrielle. She'll get a little email and I can just say, hey, you know, let's fast track this for Christmas. Thanks. And of course, I can just go and update the workflow. So a lot of really interesting visual ways that you can work with Contentstack. And this workflow board is actually something you can find in our marketplace as well. So that's all I had. I know we're coming up on the half hour. Want to see if we had any questions.
Yeah, so Adam, we did have a question from an anonymous attendee.
Okay.
Understanding that this demo has been on to how to manipulate content on a page, does Contentstack have a tool to create child pages for a library of items, such as browsing a library of blog posts that are searchable and filterable? Is there a tool that helps me upload and organize all those blog posts?
That is an excellent question. And that is something that is currently in early access called taxonomy. And what taxonomy is it allows you to create parent-child relationships. You can access it via the API if you want to do like a bulk upload of a lot of things. You can do bulk assignments, right? So that is something that is, yes, the short answer is yes. And there's a really cool way to do it with taxonomy. So if you have any questions about that, I can put my email in the chat. Send me an email. I'd love to chat with you about it.
And then, we got about 1 or 2 minutes left. Someone had a specific question. We're happy to dive in. Okay, from Tony, we build several weeks ahead of current date. Is there a way to schedule and view future content?
That is a great question. So the answer is yes. And those are going to be handled through what is called releases. And what releases let you do, I just clicked into it here. Releases allow you to go in and create a lot of different, disparate pieces of content, right? So here we have everything from home pages. We've got assets like winter fits, the brown jacket, right? We have versions of all of this that are ready to go. And we can schedule this out. We can, of course, title it. This is why I'm not a copywriter. I call it Snow Time Like the Present 24. And we can go in and, of course, deploy this at a click. We also have release preview, very similar to the live preview, in which you can see exactly what that's going to look like in the future, too. Great questions.
Yeah, so no questions in the chat. We're about at time, so just want to wrap up quickly. If anything piqued your interest today, we would love to, show you more, deeper dive on our platform. I'm sure our team will be in touch if you registered for this demo with ease of next steps, and we'll get you connected to the right resource. And we can be happy to answer any questions. So please let us know. And thanks everyone for attending today.